All right, everybody. Dr. Vidan here, and I have to say I'm frustrated, man. I am frustrated with some of the misinformation that's going on out there. I'm hearing from new patients that are calling the office for care, and they're feeling like they're the proverbial hamster in the wheel right now. You keep feeling like you're running faster and faster, and you can't break the cycle, and every day feels like this struggle, and you're wondering what's next. And um, we're going to be starting to reopen soon. Like we're seeing that, and people are having concerns with those kind of things. I'm hearing from patients that are across the U.S. and how do I keep myself and my family safe? And you're doing what's recommended. You're washing your hands. You're doing the social distance thing. You're doing the mask. I don't know if you heard, but in Ohio, they're looking at the no mask, no service thing. But even with all that, you're concerned that with states and areas starting to reopen, how do I keep myself and my family safe? Like most families, they're trying to sift through all the information that you sometimes start to feel confused and overwhelmed. And people are just getting hammered on all sides with experts saying, do one thing or do another, and they're all over the place, and you're hearing multiple conflicting messages, and people are feeling more frustrated. And I'm hearing that from patients that are calling up our office to say, I need to get in for care. I'm here to help you based on principles, not tactics. And I'm going to give you trusted research and resources that are free. And I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you that if you get what I'm about to share you, you're going to look at it in a whole new way. It's going to basically be like a smack in your own head for not seeing these things, because that's the way I felt about it too. You're going to be in awe about how much sense it makes, the research from Harvard and Cambridge and the World Health Organization and Cleveland Clinic, how much sense it actually makes. And I'm even going to show you how one Forbes contributor is against you knowing this and people talking about it. But from the opposite side, we've got people that are reporting from CNN and Fox and the New York Post and Dr. Oz and WebMD that are saying the complete opposite. And when we start to look at that, we have to ask ourselves, which one do we feel really makes the most sense? All of this began for me with the discovery and kind of looking into this stuff, and more accurately, a series of discoveries that you've likely heard about, but you haven't really thought about, from China and Italy and across Europe and New York City and across the US too. That could very well form the most important realization that you're ever going to have in arriving through on this coronavirus. It's disappointing and frustrating at first, but it's really empowering whenever we embrace it, if we act on it. So the discovery is that you can, and this is the discovery, right? That you can harm and decrease just as much as you can boost and increase your immune system. Now, when I say that, I have to caution you about this, and you have to hear what I'm about to say, because when people initially hear that, they can get dismissive of that information. Yeah, okay, yeah, I know. So what do I actually do? Well, it's right there for us. Look, if we ever have hopes of opening up and feeling safe about what we should do and what we should learn from the data and the research that's out there in our immune system, we should learn from what's been seen in other countries. We should look at prospective studies of communities of those with the high risk factors that are available to us. Does that make sense? Yeah, right? Like, it makes sense, right? Great. Then for those of you that are ready to shift from that ordinary reactionary response of your health, here's the research. But before I go into the research, I have to talk about the Forbes contributor that's saying this. And this is, I printed it out so I could show you, right? So you can see this. This is uh, this is Dr. Shapiro. This is her on her Twitter feed, where she said flat out in response to her article in the Forbes magazine that was right there. You can see it right here. She says, you cannot boost your immune system. Please stop saying that if you're someone saying that. I'm going to tell you the exact opposite, because I'm going to go with what the World Health Organization, what Harvard, what everyone else is saying there, Cambridge and all this. And I'm going to give you the research so that you can decide for yourself. You can decide whether or not you want to believe this, what she's saying here, or what you want to believe from all these other institutions that are saying these things. Now, I want you to read what she says for yourself. I want you to read the research for yourself too, but I'm going to talk to you about it too. Like the World Health Organization, they go flat into it. They say right there, right? Vitamins and minerals in the diet that are vital to boosting your immunity. Right, this the exact quote from them, right? Cambridge came out with really interesting information that they said, and they're talking about this. And stick with me, because I want to make sure I give the direct information that they said here. They said immunological functions and diseases that are associated with the cysteine and glutathione deficiency may be significantly enhanced and potentially restored by cytokine supplementation. That's a whole lot of words for basically saying this. They were saying they did an extensive studies of people that had HIV, human immunodeficiency virus. And they said, we took those patients, and when we looked at them, they had to look at the fact that these people are having a compromised immune system from something as significant as HIV. They said, you can actually allow your immune system to function better. Their exact words were significantly enhanced and potentially restored immunological functions. All right. So, okay, so maybe this doesn't have to do with HIV. No problem. That's a big one. But all right, so let's go into, you don't like what they have to say there. Let's talk about what Harvard had to say. Harvard literally put something out that says how to boost your immune system. And then they put on their strength. This is how you strengthen your immune system. It's basically saying this. It's saying that your first line of defense is to choose a healthy lifestyle. Seems easy enough, right? But I'm going to talk to you about more about what's going on there. They're saying following general good health guidelines is the single best step you can take toward naturally keeping your immune system strong and healthy. Is there a magic potion? No. Is there a magic pill? No. Is there a magic any of this? They're talking about this from a big picture, right? That you can boost your immune system. This is coming from them too. They're like, you can boost your immune system naturally. Just like a healthy diet and exercise can contribute to good health, therefore a healthy immune system. Don't like what they have to say? No problem. Let's look at somebody else. Let's look at what JAMA said, the Journal of American Medical Association. They went back and they printed they just came out with this research just like last week, right? They talked about that they looked at health records from 5,700 patients that were hospitalized in the Northwell Health System, which is the health system in New York that housed the most patients in the country throughout this whole pandemic. And what they found was that 94% of patients had more than one disease other than COVID-19, according to the JAMA research that they looked at. That's the same thing that they're seeing in all other countries too, that they're seeing the vast majority of people have these other things. Okay, we know that, but here's the thing. They said this, the author of the study said, having serious comorbidity increases your risk of having COVID-19. Going into it further, Dr. Oz, when talking about this, he said, not taking care of chronic issues has condemned, this is his exact words, condemned a large part of the population to a higher risk from COVID-19. So what do we need to do? We need to strengthen our immune system. So Cleveland Clinic printed out there, they said, look, if we strengthen your immune system, it's going to help improve things. And if we need to look at things as far as lifestyle goes. And they specifically looked at right now what we're dealing with as far as stress goes. And I've talked about this too, that living under constant stress, even low grade stress, let's face it, all of our stress is elevated at this point. We're constantly being bombarded by things where we've got this low grade amount of stress that's elevated at a whole new level. Our baseline stress has gone up. And they're saying, look, it continues day in, day out when we're dealing with this stress, and it causes the body to produce something called cortisol. You've probably heard of that. Cortisol is that stress hormone. They're looking at it and saying over time, elevated cortisol levels are going to lower your resistance to fighting off infection and contributes to poor health, right? And looking at things like sleep and blood pressure and everything else. Well, guess what patients report to me and to other chiropractors too, that say that getting adjusted helps them feel relaxed and better managing their stress. We're having patients come into us all the time that as soon as they get off of the table from getting adjusted, they go, oh, I just feel more relaxed, right? Like I just feel better. Now, how does this make sense and why does this make sense? It makes sense because of research that's coming from Japan and talking about how adjustments can help reduce stress hormones like cortisol through your neuroendocrine system. So logically, if elevated cortisol lowers your resistance to fighting off infection, you want to make sure that you get adjusted because the Japan research supports adjustments reducing stress hormones, therefore keeping your cortisol levels low and your resistance to fighting off infection high, right? That's what we want. We want to make sure that you're able to fight off infection. Am I saying that any one of these is the number one thing that you have to do I'm saying we need to change things in our lifestyle, man. Like this is what we're seeing out there. WebMD is looking at the same thing, right? Like all these things are out there for us. WebMD talks about tips to strengthen your immune system. And this was looked at by the medical doctor that was part of this. His name is Dr. Katra. Katra was his name. And he's the assistant professor for medicine at Columbia University. And he's board certified in nephrology and internal medicine. And he's going into looking at tips to strengthen your immune system. CNN went into it too. They're talking about strengthen your immunity during the COVID pandemic. And they're saying, look, there's ways to strengthen your immune system by looking at things by healthy lifestyle. All of that comes to looking at what we're doing for our lifestyle and how it is that we're addressing that. Now, for those of you that are looking at it from the perspective of, well, I have people in my life that I love, or I am too, and I'm an older population, or people that I love and care about, older population, higher risk, how can they boost their immunity? Well, they just came out with, Ireland just came out with, it's called the TILDA study, right? TILDA, the Irish Longitudinal Study on Aging is what it's actually called. And what they did was they looked at over 8,172 people that are above the age of 50 that are living in Ireland is what they looked at. And so we're going to look at that. And we're going to extrapolate what that looks like for us. And they said, look, this population's at risk. So how can they boost? This is exactly from them. How can they boost immunity? They looked at it and they said, there's lots of research that's out there highlighting the importance function of the immune system. With increased age, there's a shift in the immune function, the immune response being more pro-inflammatory, meaning that we have more inflammation in our bodies just overall. And so because of that, they're saying, how can we change that and make it to where instead of it leading to a high level of chronic inflammation, decrease that and decrease that accumulation of the inflammation that's there too. And so it says this can be particularly important when we're dealing with periods of stress or dealing with stress and metabolic stress, such as infection. Right now, what we're dealing with, right? Our body's already preset to a higher level of inflammation necessary whenever we're dealing with immune response and infection, whenever we're dealing with things, whenever we're older, and whenever we're dealing with things of high stress, right? So this is what they looked at. They said, what about vitamin D? They said vitamin D has been helped to really change things as far as help signal the increased production of anti-inflammatory molecules and decrease the production of pro-inflammatory molecules. Look, vitamin D you can get from all kinds of places. You just want to make sure that it's high quality. You don't want to get like the low grade stuff. You want to get high grade stuff so that you're getting the most out of it. And am I saying to like overdose on it? No, I'm talking about going in there and making sure that you're getting the right and proper amount. Like I give to my own family, we give vitamin D, vitamin C, and we do things like that too. I make sure that my patients get the same thing, at least so they have the option of it. And so we basically called the company and we said, look, we need some of that so we can get this to our patients too, so that they can have access to that as well. That's why I've been doing these things. Like that's why I've been doing these videos with you. If you haven't seen these yet, like every single week, every single Wednesday and Friday at 1:30, I've been doing these immune boosting series where I'm going in 2 times a week on Wednesdays and Fridays at 1:30, and I'm going in and I'm saying, look, here's the research and the resources that are out there for you. Here's the research, here's the resource. You can go out there. The resources are free. The research I'm already gathering for you. You just look at it and decide, does this make sense to me with my lifestyle? Does this make sense for me and one things that I can do? Does this make to where something that I can take action on? All the information I just gave you right there talks about boosting immunity. So why in the world would someone say, why would they say you cannot boost your immune system? It makes no sense to me. And it's frustrating to me. And probably you can hear it in my voice because I'm usually not this frustrated or irritated or aggravated about this stuff, because it's frustrating whenever I hear all this competing information that confuses people, right? Like it gets people so confused that they don't know, like, where do I go to get the right information? Where am I going to make sure that myself and my family are protected so that during this time, I don't have these issues that I'm concerned with? Because we're going to be opening up eventually. Like that's starting to happen now, and it's happening more in other areas than it is in some. But whatever the case, we need to make sure that we're protecting ourselves and our families throughout that process. So what is it that we can do? If we start making lifestyle changes, and specifically things like in our nutrition and our exercise, things like that, and we take the time to do that now, we're going to be so much better off than anyone else. And this is what is shown throughout the history of this coronavirus. This is what's being shown throughout all of this from not only our country, but others as well. So that's my information for you today. So hopefully you found this interesting. You found it to where it's something that you can actually use and it's helpful for you. If you have any questions, comments, anything like that, let me know. Put them in here. I'm going to make sure that I post in the comments too, where all the research, where you can find it all, so that you can look at it and make your own decisions. You can look at it all and go, all right, this is the information that I want in order to help myself, to help my family, to help our immune system get stronger, right? I mean, I know that there's a lot of information, all that's out there talking about how we can do things to improve our immune system. Well, use it. If we're really concerned, if we're really scared, if we're really concerned about having coronavirus and COVID-19, and we're concerned about those things, then we need to make sure that we actually take the action steps in order to protect ourselves and protect our families. At some point, you're going to have to go out in public. And at some point, you're going to have to make some changes there too. And in making those changes, these are simple actions that like so simple, right? It takes you what, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour out of your day to make those changes. Like you're worth that. Your family's worth that. We didn't come this far to start doing this mess now and then not figure out like, oh, I'm just totally helpless. I can't do anything. Poor little old me. I can't figure out how to fight this thing off, right? We can do things and we can take action steps. Look at the information that I gave you. Make sure that or that I'm going to provide for you. I'll put it in the comments. I'll put the link there where you can find all of it. And then you can go through and look at it yourself. Don't take this stuff just as what I'm saying. Look at it and find out if it's something that's going to actually help you. But I guarantee you that when I share that information, it's going to start to make sense and you're going to start to add it up and you're going to go, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then you're going to want to share that with other people because you know, love, and trust them too. And they know, love, and trust you. And they're going to go, yeah, I should be looking at that too. I should look at what Harvard said and what Cambridge said and what Cleveland Clinic said and what the World Health Organization said and all these things, right? It's ludicrous for me to think about the fact that we can only do things to decrease our immune system. The World Health Organization came out and said, by drinking alcohol, it decreases your immune system and decreases your ability to fight. So you're telling me we can only do things to decrease our immune system? Only negatives work. No, this is not like a zero sum kind of thing. It's give and take. It's we can do things to lower it and we can do things to increase it. We can do things to positively impact it and negatively impact it. Those are all things that we see. And when you think about it and we step away from it just for a minute, it starts to make sense. So hopefully that made sense for some of you. I appreciate all of you being here and listening to this. I truly do. If you have any questions on any of it, let me know. I'll make sure I keep on putting out the information that we're finding. We're finding free resources. We're finding research that's out there, and it's all things to help you. And I appreciate each and every one of you. And just let me know if you have any questions, comments, or anything like that that you want to talk about, or you want me to find out more about too. So again, I'm Dr. Vidan. I appreciate you listening to this. Talk to you soon.